All right, well, it is the witching hour, so I am going to begin our meeting. Welcome, everybody. Welcome you to the Board of Selectmen. I'll call this meeting to order. Bethel Board of Selectmen for Tuesday, April 7th, 2020. We do have several people on the, several guests on the who've joined us on the meeting today. I'm going to start off with the first Selectmen's report. There's a couple of new things I have to report to you. Number one, this is mostly for the Selectmen at this point. A couple of days ago, the governor's office issued a tax deferral program. This is in order 7R, I think, although he is now issued 23 executive orders, so I get the numbers mixed up a little bit. But the tax deferral program does is it actually orders every town in Connecticut to offer one or both of the following tax options. Number one, and this is obviously during the coronavirus crisis, there's a start date to this, which I won't go into right now. Program A is a 90-day deferral on payment of property taxes. This includes real estate, vehicles, utilities, utility usage bills, and benefit assessments. So like sewer assessments would be included in this. Program B is lowering the interest rate on delinquencies from 18% per year down to 3% per year. So the governor's order instructs every town to adopt at least one of those. They also have the option to adopt both of those. Boards of Selectmen in the state of Connecticut must choose and inform Office of Policy and Management what their intentions are no later than April 25th. So Rich and Paul, I will send you the paperwork on this. We just received it last night. And there's still a lot of questions. There's eligibility requirements on this. In order for a taxpayer to be eligible for this, they must be able to demonstrate that their income has been affected by a drop of 20% or greater. Although Office of Policy and Management hasn't given us any guidance on how to do that, like what forms of documentation are acceptable and legal. They haven't thought that part through yet, so we're still waiting for a little bit of guidance on that, but I'm sure we'll have it within the next day or so. The program is also available for landlords, for people who own apartment complexes or other multifamily structures. They must show a loss in revenue of 30% or greater, and they must also verify that they are passing some level of rent forbearance over to their tenants to be eligible for the program. So this is going to be on our next agenda. April 21st is the next regular Board of Selectmen meeting. We could possibly meet earlier to do that. Item number 2 for the Selectmen's report. Just about 2 hours ago, Governor Lamont issued his latest executive order, number 7V, like victory. This order, among other things, it pushes back a lot of deadlines on sort of like internal documentation at the local and state level. The most important part of this is they've established new safe workplace rules for essential employers. And of course, all municipal and school service are considered essential employers in this environment. There are 2 pages worth of new rules for employers. You can find these on the state website under DECD, Department of Economic and Community Development. So I won't go through the long list. It's almost 4 pages long, but the main ones are as follows. Essential employees who are able to work from home should work from home. The governor my guess is he's about 1 step away from issuing a shelter-in-place order until we get through the so-called surge. Number 2, eliminate all non-essential workplace travel. 3, and this is something that we've been doing at Town Hall for 2 weeks now, control access to internal visitors, including prohibiting entry to the facility to non-essential visitors. This takes it a couple steps further, interviewing approved visitors about their current health condition and recent travel history, and using hand sanitizer at entry to the facility. All elimination of in-person meetings, provide masks to employees whenever they have close personal contact when it's unavoidable, increase physical space between employees and any clients or customers. There are quite a number of rules that I'm going to be passing along to Terry and to Phyllis Kansky that really the HR people are going to, we're going to have to go through this together. There's going to be a lot of signage, insurance information that we will now need to give employees so that they have they know how to file a claim. There's been an expansion of out-of-network coverage for people who have insured private health insurance in the state of Connecticut. So I will post all that stuff. That's it for the first Selectmen's report for now. Rich and Paul, do you have anything you want to add?
Not really. The only thing I've got to ask, and maybe we'll cover this in the meeting later on, about a 90-day delay in tax payments. Does that mean then they'll have to pay a double tax? So in other words, we have a payment due about May 1st right now, and then 3 months later, May, June, July, July. You'd have to do July and May's at the same time?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
That's steep.
Yeah, it is. And we've asked the governor's office for clarification on that because, you know, a lot of towns in Connecticut have 2 tax payments per year, not 4. But all the towns who are on quarterly tax payments the way we are have expressed the same concern that that's a double hit for the people. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the next couple of weeks the governor modifies that and provides a little bit more clarity. So
the other question is, you said there's going to be a 20% loss of income?
Correct. Well, they have to demonstrate a 20% loss of income, correct.
Okay, so that means unemployment. That could probably include basically a lot of people who depend on revenue from their investments too.
That's a good question. I think we need to get clarification on that. Is that verifiable 1099 or W-2 income, or is that investment income? That's a good question.
Yeah.
That issue is not discussed, so I thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
That's all right. Okay, great. Rich, did you have any other questions or comments?
Everybody seems to be, their audio is off.
Oh, hey, Rich, you're muted. Okay, there you are.
I'm back on now. Yeah, no, I just, to tell the townspeople, still to be safe, to practice the self-distancing. We want everybody to come home to their families every day, so God bless.
Yep. Thank you very much. Yeah, let me, before I move on to the next agenda item, let me just say something about the surge. That has gotten a lot of press, and I know it causes a great deal of concern. What the surge really means is that there are a lot of people walking around who were probably exposed to it, almost definitely, without knowing it, and this is about to blossom into a full-blown disease. I'm gonna liken it to a chain reaction. There's nothing that we can do to stop the surge except choose not to participate in it, and that means following the rules, following the guidance to stay home, to don't go out unless it's absolutely necessary. Right now, the best estimates that our State Department of Health is giving us is that the surge will peak somewhere around April 14th. They said between April 14th and April 21st, somewhere around there. But I will continue to keep people updated on that as best I can. Moving on the agenda, public comments. I'm going to open up the chat. Oops, oh, that's the wrong one. That's the share screen. I'm going to open up the chat box. If anybody out there in the ether would like to speak, I would ask you to just pop your name over here so I can call on you, and you then I would ask you to unmute your microphone and share your thoughts, please. Bill Hillman, please go ahead.
Hi there. First off, Matt, I'd like to thank you and the Board of Selectmen for all of your hard work communicating. I know that part of the discussions today have to do with the budget, the lack of a referendum because of the governor's executive order. I would hope that there's some new consideration for the economics slowdown that we're going to all be facing in the next few months. But when you look at the police department, I know that there's been a request to have 2 that was cut to 1 additional police officer. With respect to both Drs. Carver and Terriansky, if a trade-off has to be made, my opinion is that having 2 additional members of the police department over the next several months is a higher priority than the staffing at the schools. That may not be very popular, but I think it just reflects the circumstances of the day. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in for that. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna hold up for a minute. To that point, I just wanted to. There was one part about the first selectman's report that I wanted to mention, and that is that there was some confusion about the governor's executive order. I'm aware that in the press recently that there have been some towns that were experimenting, at least talking about some creative ideas on how to hold a town meeting, how to hold votes, how to hold a referendum. We vetted this thoroughly with the governor's staff and with the governor's general counsel, and I just wanted people to know that those are, especially with the new executive order 7B, those are off the table. It's simply a shall do this kind of an order. So for clarity, the Board of Selectmen tonight will consider a resolution, but it will be entirely up to the Board of Finance, which is the budget authority in the town of Bethel, to finalize the budget. And there will be a virtual public hearing of sorts, and that will be up to the purview of the Board of Finance. So having that, anybody else would like to speak? I think, Brad, you have your hand up, right? I think you're muted, Brad.
Yeah,
There you go.
okay, there we go. Thank you, Matt. And thanks for the clarification on some of the process. In looking through the resolution, I have 2 concerns that I just wanted to raise for you guys to discuss, but I just wanted to get them on the table. My understanding prior to the executive order suspending town meeting and suspending referendum, and that it was adopted to provide time for towns to organize town meeting and referendum during the crisis. So 7I clearly supersedes the prior referendum and town meeting, including, it states in it, prior executive order, and it specifically refers to 7B as an item that it is still including. So my concern is that the Board of Selectmen appears to be setting the timetable for this, but may or may not actually have legal authority to do that. And I'd hate to have everybody go through this process, which I know is going to be full of lots of angst for everybody, and then have the darn thing challenged after the smoke clears on all this because we didn't follow the actual process. So I wanted to get that out on the table so that you guys could have a conversation about that relative to the wording of the resolution. And I thank you for the consideration on that.
All right, you broke up a little bit, but I think you got it. Yes, I don't want to get into a back and forth on that, but we did vet that issue very carefully, and it's up to the Board of Selectmen to set the time, like the date, and it's up to the Board of Finance to do everything else, including the public hearing. So, but that was investigated very thoroughly. So thank you for that. Anybody else? Any other members of the public wish to comment? You can you got a little. You can raise your hand or drop me a note in the group chat. And hearing none, I will move on to correspondence. Dion, I see you're on. I don't think there was any late well, you know what? Late correspondence is a moot point because it would not have been posted on the website 24 hours in advance. So we'll just skip that item. So item number 5, consideration of resolution on the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Okay, for the record, I'm going to read the resolution. If anybody wants to go get this is on the website, so you can read the text for yourself. If you want to go get a cup of coffee at this point, because it's kind of long, let me read it into the record, and then I'll ask for a second. Then the floor will be open for discussion. Resolution by the Board of Selectmen governing the adoption of the fiscal year 2020-2021 Town of Bethel budget as authorized by Executive Orders 2020-7B, like boy, 7C like cat, and 7I like iron. Whereas on March 20th, 2020, the governor of the state of Connecticut declared a public emergency and civil preparedness emergency for the state of Connecticut pursuant to Connecticut General Statute sections 19A-131 and 28-9 in response to the global pandemic of COVID-19 disease associated with the novel coronavirus that is currently affecting multiple countries and states. Whereas on March 13th, 2020, the President of the United States declared a national emergency to combat the coronavirus that is currently infecting the population of the United States. Whereas the effects of the transmission of the COVID-19 has resulted in the spread of infections in Connecticut and throughout the country, as well as resulting in shortages of personal protective equipment and other supplies that could jeopardize public safety and civil preparedness. Whereas in response to the issuance of declarations of a public health emergency and civil preparedness emergency by the governor, he has issued a series of executive orders setting forth the law governing the conduct of business of state and municipal government during the period of the emergency. Whereas on March 14th, 2020, the governor issued executive order number 7B, like boy, paragraph 1, which suspends all statutes, charter provisions, ordinances, and regulations mandating open meetings in order to, quote, permit any public agency to meet and take such actions authorized by law without permitting or requiring in-person public access to such meetings, and to hold such meetings or proceedings remotely by conference call, video conference, or other technology. And whereas EO7B sets forth the following requirements for electronic meetings. Number 1, the public has the ability to view or listen to each meeting or proceeding in real time by telephone, video, or other technology. 2, any such meeting or proceeding is recorded or transcribed, and such recording or transcript shall be posted on the agency's website within 7 days of the meeting or proceeding and made available within a reasonable time at the agency's office. 3, the required notice and agenda for each meeting or proceeding is posted on the agency's website and shall include information on how the meeting will be conducted and how the public can access it. 4, any materials relevant to the matters on the agenda, including but not limited to materials related to specific applications, if applicable, shall be submitted to the agency a minimum of 24 hours prior and posted on the agency's website for public inspection prior to, during, and after the meeting. And any exhibits to be submitted by members of the public shall, to the extent feasible, also be submitted to the agency a minimum of 24 hours prior to the meeting and posted on the agency's website. 5, all speakers taking part in any such meeting or proceeding shall clearly state their name and title, if applicable, before speaking on each occasion that they speak. Whereas on March 15th, 2020, the governor issued executive order number 7C, like cat, paragraph 5, which extended, quote, all budget deadlines for the preparation of the municipal budget, close quote, for the fiscal year 2020-2021, that, quote, falls on any date prior to and including May 15th, and are extended by 30 days, close quote. Whereas EO7C5 permits the Board of Selectmen to alter or modify the schedules and deadlines pertaining to the preparation and submission of a proposed budget and the deliberation or actions on said budget, including any required public hearings, publication, referendum, or final budget adoption. Whereas EO7C postpones all submission dates and set forth in chapters C6.3 and C10.2 of the Town of Bethel Charter until such time as the Board of Selectmen approves said modified schedule and deadline consistent with the 30-day extension. Whereas on March 21st, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 7I, paragraph 13, of which dispenses with any in-person voting requirements, parentheses, including referenda and town meetings requiring in-person votes, close parentheses, for purposes of adopting 2020 to 2021 fiscal year municipal budgets and setting the mill rate, and directs the Board of Selectmen to confer final responsibility on the budget-making authority of the town to adopt a budget and set a mill rate, which roles are allocated by the charter to the budget authority. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved pursuant to paragraph 5 of Executive Order 7C and paragraph 13 of Executive Order 7I, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Bethel hereby directs and authorizes the Board of Finance, parentheses, the budget authority, close parentheses, to take all necessary and reasonable steps as described in Executive Orders 7B1 and 7I13 to publicize a draft of the proposed municipal budget, receive public comments, and to create and approve a budget for the Town of Bethel for the fiscal year 2020-2021, and further sets forth the date of no later than May 15, 2020, as the deadline for the submission, deliberation, and adoption of said budget, exclusive of setting the mill rate, which shall be governed under Chapter C10-3 of the Town Charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved, further resolved pursuant to paragraph 13 of Executive Order 7I, the provisions of Charter Chapters C63A1, C63B1, and C102E are hereby suspended for adoption of the Town of Bethel budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. That closes the resolution. Can I hear a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Paul. Paul and Rich, the floor is open.
I think, I've read it several times. It's a lot of legalese there, but I assume it's correct for what we're going to be doing.
Okay.
We're in uncharted times right now, and we have to rely on the legal professionals of the town and the state to give us guidance, and this is the way we have to proceed. I mean, this virus thing is going to go on for a while yet. Even after the apex is over, they're still going to be in the community, and we need to protect our community. We don't want to have a relapse of this. So on a short term or a stop basis, this is how we have to proceed. All of our meetings right now are going this virtual media. So it's new times, and we have to deal with it. And I hope the public understands. I know that, everybody wants to have their input on it. Hopefully that, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yep, I can hear you.
Hopefully that, people will be able to put their input on the hearing that the Board of Finance will have. And so hopefully that the people will be able to be heard by the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance will respond to their requests. We have to look at both ends of the spectrum, what the public needs and what the town needs are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. And so essentially what this executive order does is it turns our Board of Finance into a city council for 1 year. And let's all hope and pray that this doesn't, we're not doing this again next year. Just to be clear about something, the Governor's Order 7I is very clear that there must be a mechanism pursuant to any town's charter that allows public input to come back to the Board of Finance before they vote. And the minimum of that is 10 days. And that will be, in fact, I was originally going to propose the date of May 8th, a week earlier to have this, but after discussing with Mr. Manfreda, he asked that it be pushed back a week to make sure that there's more time for public input. So I'm sure that that the Board of Finance will do everything they can to gather public input and before they begin deliberating. So
Matt,
Richard Paul, yeah.
Yeah, just a quick question. I know I asked this last time at the last meeting. No, but Bob Manfreda, when he's going to convene with the Board of Finance, does he have any input as far as from the Labor Department, as far as a number of people in the town of Bethel who are collecting unemployment or will be collecting unemployment? Because
Well,
that's sort of a very it's a variable that's going to impact the availability of money to pay taxes.
I asked for that data in one of the conference calls with the governor's office last week, and so far the Labor Department has not been able to separate it. They are working on it because yeah, Bob Manfreda asked for that too. Every CEO in the state has asked for that data, so to look at new jobless claims by town. So I don't know what kind of a system Labor Department used, but hopefully they can get that to us soon.
I would hope so, because, you know, there's just too many people just sitting home and without a job, laid off, and filing for unemployment.
Yeah, yep. It's historic times, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments from Rich and Paul?
No.
No.
Okay, then try your minds. We have on the floor the resolution to empower and authorize the Board of Finance to create a budget and set a mill rate no later than May 15th. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. I thank you very much. I thank you. We've had,
Matt,
this works pretty well. We had 22 guests here. Yes,
Matt, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
You just made with your motion to tell them to set the mill rate on the 15th as well.
Oh,
On the last part, to authorize them to, just want to make it clear that they're just supposed to set the budget and then follow up with the mill rate after. I don't know, I don't think it was the actual part of the motion, but the way you said it.
no, actually, I'll read that back to you, Marty, because it says, you know, deliberation adoption of a said budget exclusive of setting the mill rate, which shall be governed by.
No, Matt, I'm not disagreeing with that. The motion was fine, is what you said afterwards. You just said that you're going to authorize and empower them to set the budget and the mill rate by the 15th, and that's not.
Okay, so, all right. That's yeah, that's a non-binding comment. I meant the
Right.
budget. Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Just want to
Thank
make
you
that
for the-
clear.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay. There's nothing else. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Paul, seconded by Rich. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. I thank you very much for tuning in. And I guess we're going to be doing this for a while. So we're all
I
going to
just
be
want
computer
to
jockeys.
thank all the residents for tuning in also. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Just
Thank
want
all
to
the
say,
residents.
those who are watching, stay safe.
Yes. Everybody stay safe.